You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, South Africa. Hello, the world. Hello, all the hemispheres, north, south, east, and west. We all come together on a wonderful evening here at Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. I'm your host, Paul, for this evening's show. And today we're going to be talking all things shamanism, all things mysticism, and we're going to talk about the baby reptiles or the baby reptilians, which seem to have re-emerged into the drama of our day. Let's work with all of this, but let's just look at, as we're going along through the show tonight, what mysticism really means for us. Let's look at those aspects of shamanism. I was quite surprised the other day to see a friend of mine on a Facebook post going to see into a Toltec course to learn all about being a Toltec. And I never really seen him in that particular way of experiencing. But then I looked at the searching, I looked at the depth of that particular person and the work that he's having to do within himself. And no wonder, looking for some deeper insights on his own mystical journey through life, through the aspects of shamanism. So the Seer Almin will be working us and talking us through some of those processes. Many people having great, intense experiences of late. Let's start off our show, though, by listening to a beautiful bit of music by our Irish sister, Vanessa Power, Exquisite Divine Beauty, and the piece of music is called Newfound Tones of Beauty. Let us absorb that for a few moments. And there we were listening to a beautiful track called Newfound Tones of Beauty by Exquisite Divine Beauty, aka Vanessa Power. Hopefully she's listening to that live tonight, and thank you, Vanessa, for that. And by the way, there doesn't seem to have been a new track for a while, so looking forward to whatever comes up, if that is going to happen. Tonight we're talking about the perspectives of awareness in shamanism and mysticism. And through the course of this last week, I've been looking at myself, at some of the processes going on within me, likening them to what I see going on around me. And again, just to remind everybody, my absolute fortune is to have everyone around me sharing so much with me, from the heart, just in discussion, talking about where we're at and looking at all of these things. So from that, this radio show can develop into the most amazing experiences and just gives us that hour together as the light bringers and light seekers and creators of the world. Really, really beautiful stuff. So thank you for that, everybody. And of course, your social media posts have been adding up this week and really just highlighting where each one of us is at. I think it's very easy for many of us to get trapped in the feelings and thoughts of something that we deem as right or wrong. Today I was just looking at the aspect of, integrity and really looking at how one's agenda defines one's integrity. And somebody who has a completely opposite agenda to what I may have may deem themselves to be in integrity, because we will always have this aspect where we have to, go through our belief systems and say, I'm right or I'm wrong. And that sense of duality can create many, many different paths and discoveries for us and adventures as we're going through our day-to-day life. But so much seems to be happening. People are reporting the most incredibly intense experiences. We had a friend who nearly died 2-3 weeks ago and is now recovering and having to recover completely right from the beginning again, at a time of his life where he thought he would be free to do a lot more. But there you go. That's what's happening along the way. Most of these are all life-changing processes, and really the depth of stuff that is going on fascinates me. And it's not that for myself and Nico, we're not going through our own changes and our own processes as we are literally letting go of the old. And that's still an ongoing process. But I think we've come to a point of a self-realization within ourselves right now that says, let's push it forward without any agenda, just simply so that we can let go of the old, because we cannot stand on this bridge of the past, wondering what the future will hold for us. And as Almin says, let the future come to us, and we'll talk about that in a little while as well. Some people are completely crumbling, though. Some describe it as experiences where their knees are buckling, there's intense pain for many to deal with, decisions need to be made, but they don't seem to be able to sometimes make them from a level of consciousness that is going to advance their particular process. And many people are stuck in these particular aspects. So I came up with a new bit of alchemical equation today in my ponderings about all of these processes. And it quite surprised me, because as I was reading the prediction for the week, it was all about confidence. And then I was looking at the aspects of authenticity within the aspect of it. How authentic am I? And quite honestly, my only understanding of authenticity is to be as real as I possibly can in this moment in terms of the realizations or insights that I have around my own authenticity, and just maintain all of that. Because if we're not careful, we live in the past of value systems that hold us also captive. So our job is to create new processes and allow them to come in all this particular time. So the alchemical equation that I came up with was called trust and surrender. And that fits in absolute line with what we've been discussing over the last month or so here on Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. And then as I was reading through the rune prediction of the week, and that beautiful long prediction that comes in from the Russian light family from Ella, just profoundly changes my day every time it comes in. And I always print it up, stick it up next to my desk, and I start to read it and just focus on 1 or 2 lines and just work with that for each day. So trust and surrender to me creates a state of confidence. And I think that's what's missing. I think that's the missing link within our understanding of how life has changed and what it is that you and I need to perhaps do. And again, as I'm talking, you may be identifying with this, or you may be going, no way, Jose, it doesn't really matter. These are just insights that I'm sharing, so hopefully you get something out of it. But I think that there's a lack of confidence in the self on a level of authentic expression. And sometimes we make it up. There's a saying that we go, let's fake it until we make it. And here, sometimes in the entertainment industry, we're seeing that is necessary, have to do, and we gain confidence from that. So just let me put that into context. Let's say we've got a new artist and we're putting them on stage for the first time. And what happens is they're really, really nervous. And the things that they have to do in order to go and project and express themselves as a professional or as somebody who's incredibly confident, they have to become that confidence for that time frame. But it may not be authentic for them at that particular time until down the line they've learned to become more and more confident in their sense of expression and in their performance. but more about the entertainment industry later on as well. And so I think there's this non-sense, let me rephrase it, there's a non-reality about the levels of confidence. We're still not sure. We know that we should be confident in all these expressions, but somewhere deep inside the programming may be holding us back. And then I was thinking a little bit more about it, because as I read the rune prediction of the week, there we went with an aspect, and Ella's, in the rune reading is talking about absolute confidence. And that was the trigger for me today, just looking at these aspects and say, yes, that is what we have not yet gained within the self. So we have surrendered, we have trusted, but the alchemical relationship has not yet merged within where we are in complete confidence. So that for me means we are on a bridge between the old and the new. And of course, we know that the new webinar, The Bridge of No Space, is coming up very, very beautifully. And go and read all about that on Spiritual Journeys or an Almin Diary. Absolutely fascinating what is coming up in terms of the different languages and processes that we'll all be working through. So just think about, are you in absolute confidence or are you just confident? And there's a big difference between the two. So the work for me ahead in this week is to step into a state where I'm absolutely confident. I'm in ownership of who I am and beginning to work through that sense of self-mastery. And I hope that my insights about my own processes are really going to help you at this particular moment. Let us know either on speaker.com right now. Just say yay or nay. Or again, please, as some of you have been magnificently and so beautifully doing, sending us these incredibly loving emails and just saying to us how much they're actually enjoying what they're listening to and how on par it is. And we really appreciate hearing from you. But absolute is the key word here. And we've got to ask ourselves, what are the choices? What are these particular processes that we need to look at? If we look at Almin Diary, there's a post up there talking about perspectives of awareness in shamanism and mysticism. And the question that was given to Almin was, must we pay attention to control and direct all our behavior? So give examples and explain your answer. Almin answers, in advanced mysticism as well as shamanism, the answer to the previously stated question would have to be given from two perspectives in order to avoid ambiguity. Isn't that amazing? The first perspective, the truth seeker's quest is for enhanced awareness of all potential available to him or her in the moment. This can only be accomplished by full attention to the moment and deliberate and powerful actions derived from complete focus on the now. The second perspective that Almin is giving us, she's saying that it is indicative of advanced levels of spiritual development when the truth seeker is accomplished at what is called not doing in Toltec mysticism and eagle vision in shamanic traditions. This entails at all times not only fully participating in articulating in the moment, but simultaneously being the objective observer. This is a vital requirement to provide a dispassionate discernment that ensures that we act from the integrity and inclusivity that considers the well-being of all life forms. So what we've done is we found some Almin audio about magic and shamanism. It's from 2014, but in this short track, Almin talks about the connection between the two and how are healing and metaphysics related. And she explains that these bodies of information are as fields of perception to discover yourself and life as it is unfolding. And I think that we need to also understand that, be not afraid, be absolutely confident in our understanding and our willingness to discover ourselves and life as it is unfolding. So let's listen to how are magic and shamanism related.
In 1997, by a series of events that led people to my doorstep because of miracles that were being observed, I started to teach the public. In fact, it was in February that this began. And since then, my work has gone through very specific stages. So the old work is just as valid today as it was then. It's just that today I'm in a altogether different stage. What these stages represent are in fact 7 sets of tools that humanity can use to order what we call 7 fields of perception. The 7 fields of perception can be called also 7 dimensions and the information that they give. These are absorbed by the 7 chakras, downloaded into the endocrine system, and interpreted by the interpretive organs within the brain and within the heart. Initially, the first books that you can read represent the field of perception of shamanism. It is that which sees the aliveness of all things, and cooperating with it creates a world in which there are wonderful powers and strengths available to such a practitioner. It is also the time to learn how to focus on perception rather than power. It is the preparation for the journey ahead. The second series of books and work and online courses that came out as a result, yet again, of changing from one field to the next. And the next field was something that I had never even paid any attention to. Incorruptible white magic. The word magic is so abused in our vernacular, in our language, because white incorruptible magic in its true form has been absent on the planet. Magic is not the enforcing of our will on circumstances, even when the intent is benign. Instead, what it is the revelation of the perfection of the infinite's unfolding intent that lies beneath the appearances. The appearances are there due to belief systems, also due to programs and collective belief systems of man and racial belief systems of all creatures. So what we are looking at is to overcome these belief systems and reveal this perfection, this beautiful, pristine reality that is available to all. The result of this is the closing of the gap between cause and effect. So the practitioner has to learn how to master their fears, how to think only the most beautiful things possible, and how to correct distorted emotions by replacing them with the pure emotions. This practitioner has then got the ability to practice incorruptible white magic, because only then is he or she ready for their thoughts to manifest instantaneously. The next level of the fields of perception is the field of healing. And a healing was given that enhances the practitioner, that elevates a specific soul group depending on the level of the healing method, and that heals the client or the person that you're working with at the level that they are willing to receive. It is done in cooperation with the angels, who feature very prevalently in reminding the person of their oneness. Disease is that which has forgotten the oneness and cohesiveness and inclusiveness of all living beings. So the field of healing is the third level that my teachings went through. The fourth level that my teachings went through is the field of mysticism. The Toltec mysticism that had been a major part of my life for as long as I can remember became very prevalent during this stage. Toltec mysticism teaches how to cooperate with the laws of the universe. For example, one strengthens what you oppose. Many well-meaning light workers fight against illusion, fight against injustice, but inadvertently they strengthen it, unaware that the law says otherwise. To try and fix and to try and save still judges and divides. To acknowledge oneness uplifts all life. Mysticism, as the Toltec mysticism, also teaches how to wield power with absolute impeccability, so that not at any time do we have the arrogance to think that life is not already in perfection. The next field, and these have now covered the directions, the 4 directions, challenges, and they have revealed the assistance, the support systems, such as shamanism, healing mechanisms, programs of white magic that can be used as a tool, and mysticism. These are support systems of the 4 directions. We then come to the last 3 directions, the horizontal axis on the 4 directions, and we look next at the field of metaphysics. Metaphysics is my passion. It reveals about ourselves by studying the vastness of the cosmos, and it reveals the vastness of the cosmos by studying ourselves. We can look at it as the practice of as above, so below, but as below, so above. The empowering situation this puts the individual in reveals that, in fact, they can change life as we know it everywhere by living this principle. Because when it changes below in the microcosm, it must change in the macrocosm. When you change the center fractal pattern, the patterns around it also must change. The next field of perception is the field of divinity. Within each being slumbers Godhood. How to awaken that divinity, not only by living it ourselves, but by accessing it in another, and by recognizing it and relating to it through the open heart to the open heart, to help bring it about for others. There is a profound body of information studying the 441 principles of Godhood. We now look at our last one, which was entered in February, yet again, in 2014. And it is the never-ending journey, the unfolding intent of the infinite. When we cooperate with it, we align ourselves with a never-ending source of energy and other resources like life force. We become vital and we become powerful beyond belief by aligning with the great power of the universe. Except suddenly, power has no meaning, because power is complete surrender and the infinite working through us. This is revealed day by day as the river rounds the bend in an ever new vista, the never-ending journey of unfolding life. These are the series of bodies of information that you may study. And if each one calls to you, our office is willing and able, and those who work on our behalf as our support team, to guide you to the right material. I thank you for walking this very sacred journey with me. Expect your life to change dramatically as you do so. And one day you will realize that there is no other journey but the middle of the river, where the water is ever fresh and nascent. To do otherwise is to stagnate in the sluggish waters of the marsh. to go round and round the fishbowl of the known. Our journey is the unknowable, and if you are ready for it, this is for you.
And you're back in studio on Radio Belvaspata, South Africa's show for Thursday, the 27th of July. There we were listening to the mystic Ansia Almin from a class way back in 2014 as she discussed the aspects of mysticism. And there the question right at the end, are you ready? Well, I'm just thinking about some of those processes. And when I gave the alchemical equation, which I'm working with within my own being at this moment, and I explained earlier about trust and surrender, I can see that that is all about perception. And even though it might have taken a lot of energy and time to begin to work on it and allow it to come through, that is all about perception. And then Almi was talking about living in the state of power. And I think power is the result of that perception and able to let us stand strong in absolute confidence. So very, very interesting indeed. But what are our choices? Let's look a little bit about some of those aspects of it, because if absolute is the key word, let's look at some of assistance that we've got from the tools within Almin's teachings that we have. And perhaps we're not using them accordingly, or perhaps it's just become information for us. But it's time to reapply our understanding and our practice of it. Because again, there you go. Understanding and perception and practice is power through all the things. So some gap is missing if we are not getting where we need to go within ourselves on a day-to-day level, and when things are crumbling around us, well, that's also part of the particular journey. Have we got the power and ability to let it all go? So there's a gap sometimes between our vision and our desires, absolutely. But the question I'm going to ask is, are we doing what needs to be done for ourselves, or are we stuck in doing for others as a belief system? The question is, are we living in magic or are we living in belief? That's the process. So 3 things I've come up with about what our choices are. The first one is ask the right question within our day-to-day context. And I'm just thinking about often the questions that we ask are all based on a perspective or a belief system which will only provide answers that will feed that particular belief system. And so these all need to be dissolved. So when we're not getting an answer out of something and there's confusion, it's because we haven't asked a question in the right way or trying to ask it within known contexts. And that needs to be worked on. The second is that a choice that I'm going to say here is to look at this third level of healing that Almin was talking about over there, and more about that as we're going along, because I think the majority of the people around me and the people around the world that I'm connecting with on social media or any other process literally are going through so much of a healing process. And then the third one is magic of the gods. And if we look at the magic of the gods, it's a magic through emphasis, living as the magic of the gods. It's called the awakening of the 30 principles of perpetual self-regeneration. Now, I'm not going to go through all 30 of them along the way. I've just chosen 6 points, and 6, I think, are masculine, feminine balance, balancing, 2 points each, masculine and feminine, just trying to bring in that aspect of it. And the first one, in terms of perpetual self-regeneration and self-sovereignty, is living a self-sustaining, emotional, self-sovereign process. And that is something I think we need to give ourselves power to and allow ourselves to work with it. Otherwise, we fall back into belief of others, maybe wanting to help or needing to help, etc. The second one is self-contained energy production. The third one that I want to talk about, which will be point number 4 in this list that I have, is masterful directiveness within complete surrender. The next one is number 12 on this list, but is number 4 on my choices of 6. Allowing the joyous shaping of our ever-renewing form. For me, that's trust and surrender. The next one is number 16 on the list. It's number 5 on our choices. Strengthened conviction of miraculous existence. And the next one, or the last one, the 6th point, number 19 on the list. The gentle guidance of the subtle currents of the ocean of infinite existence. So those are just the 6 choices I've taken out to work within myself. Let's just repeat them quickly for you so that you can listen to the show again or ask us and we'll send them to you. First, self-sustaining emotional self-sovereignty. Number 2, self-contained energy production. The next one, masterful directiveness within complete surrender. Followed by allowing the joyous shaping of our ever-renewing form. Next one would be strengthened conviction of miraculous existence. And the last, 6th point, the gentle guidance of the subtle currents of the ocean of infinite existence. And that's just something for us all to work on if you choose to do that. But there are 30 principles of perpetual self-regeneration. And I've been really looking at self-regeneration over the last few weeks, just trying to get that process going in and seeing where I am and what is happening, etc., etc. But there we go. It's all work that we have to do, and that work will continue as we're going along. All right, so we're going to take another break now as we listen to the Seer Almeen as she talks about working with mysticism and those particular processes. Let's just listen to that in context with what we spoke about shamanism and mysticism earlier, and that will help us really get some perspective on the particular journey. So the first one was, how are magic and shamanism related? That's what we heard earlier. And now we're going into interstellar mysticism, which is part of Almeen's course from 2010. But let's listen to what awakens within us and what has been imprisoning us, and that will assist us at this moment.
Because I have a point that I want to make in talking to you this morning about the incredible things that has happened in our lives, our being, myself and those who hold my hand each day as they follow on Twitter and Facebook and so on. And we have our Spanish Twitter masters over here. We've got it in multiple languages. Polish is the next language to come. It's in Russian. We have all of the main archbishops of Russia following Twitter that I put on each day. Can you believe it? It's a strange world. But it's in multiple countries now. For those of you that walk this journey with me, there is never a dull moment, because every day cutting-edge material comes in. And so for those of you that want to take a peek at it, go to almeenwisdom.com. You don't need to have a Twitter account to just access it. I want to play to you a song from Antares to show you the variety and the variance that is presented in the music of the star races. Then, after just taking a little look at this very diverse music, I want to share with you the fact that their poetry has also been coming in. And it is not diverse. Obviously, it describes very diverse things. But there is a genre, a thread that runs through it that is the same. And it has opened an entire new way on earth for us to get information. Completely new. I've never seen anything like it. I know it has never been here. This is one of the gifts, one of many, that the star races and their deluge of contact since last year, it started on the 1st of September last year, complete just buckets and buckets of gifts from them. Simon, would you play number 3? This is from a race. I mean, just try and remember. Do you remember the name of the race that number 3 is from? Anyway, it's Andromeda, one of the races from Andromeda. song was recorded, received, put into its final form in one day. And for those of you that do music, you will know it's impossible. I went in there in the morning. I could hear this massive song into my studio with my sound producer. I didn't even know how to tell him what the song was like. Where would you start? But somehow by that evening it was complete, and there it is. So from Andromeda, my brothers and sisters, their music. So we have had most exquisite poetry coming through from them as well. And today, during the class, I will be allowing them to speak to you, so whatever, because they already started and asked and said they wanted to speak with you, so we'll do that during this class. The poetry that they've given us, the great diversity. I mean, if you listen to number 10, there's like Buddhist overtone chanting that I had to do with this high soprano at the top. It's completely different again. Every single one of this, from Ursa Major, this is the bear star, they have an oral tradition, much like the Mohawk Longhouse tradition. And they give the oral history in a chanting style. And then the background music gives the feeling and the emotion of the story they're telling, of how the bear tribes came from North America and went through a tunnel to avoid cataclysmic events, and they went to the bear star. And the race that was there enslaved them. And for many centuries they have been enslaved, and they want to come home. This is in their music. It's exquisite. Well, then they gave us their poetry, and you can see the poetry, not only what it is in English, but its glyph form, how it sounds. And you can see it on Almeen Wisdom Twitter. There's a little section just for the poetry. And my brothers and sisters, you can hear more of this music, and very specifically about the Hidden Planets music that we'll be talking to you about, because I'm actually in the process of making that. But it's, again, an entire different ballgame. They have massive instrumentation. We have a little keyboard. Paul doesn't do that. He's a guitarist. So all of a sudden, these symphonies and things have been coming through my fingers. So that will be ready on the 28th of March. It will be ready because we give it for free as part of one of our courses that's currently running.
Welcome back to studio, broadcasting live out of Benoni, east of Johannesburg. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you for sharing the show with us week by week. Absolutely incredible watching everybody's comments and processes. We appreciate it very much. Well, yesterday morning I had a dream, and those dreams seem to happen just before I wake up from my sleep time. So it's like very early morning, just before the alarm goes off and just before I need to wake up to begin the day. And I had a vision of some babies coming up into my being, into my process, into my experience. And I was quite taken with their eyes. I just couldn't understand what I was seeing. Their eyes seemed soulless. They were very, very dark colored. And although those babies were quite something, they were entertaining, they were attractive, they were working with me, per se, in order to attract my attention and for me to go all gooey yoo-hoo over them, as one does, because that is part of our programming of new birth and new life. And I heard a strange clicking noise at the same time. But, I just let it go, and I've learned by now that if I don't understand something, I let it go, and something will come to pass shortly that I will begin to understand it. And look what happened on Almeen Diary now. It's titled, A Visit from Human Reptilian Hybrid Offspring. And this is what has been posted up in Almeen Diary. One night at the recent Ohio retreat, that was the beginning of July, Almeen and her daughter Jaylene were visited by a black-eyed child in their hotel room. Almeen was able to explain to the class who they are and why it has been so difficult to get rid of these alien beings that she describes as deadly. These children that speak in clicking sounds, and Almeen was able to demonstrate their language, have no whites in their eyes, and are the hybrid offspring of the reptilians that have inhabited the Earth's crust. And this was recently discussed in Messages for Lightworkers, by the way. And how they infiltrate our society by appearing as human. Their mating with humans has produced these beings who have the mind control abilities of their reptilian lineage. The profound insights that this experience brought enabled the whole class to learn a profound key to what they were studying. And all of this will be included in the upcoming release of the recordings of the Ohio retreat. Yes, I see there was a lovely big video camera there. Looking forward to getting all of that. So Regis asks, you speak of the reptilian inhabitation and infiltration in the present tense. Shouldn't that be the past tense? Because it's already been said by the seer that there's no more aliens left here on Earth. Almin says, it seems to me that certain celebrity infiltrators are still being kept in place by fans. And she names some of them, or I assume that she names them because it's in brackets here. People like Justin Bieber, Adele, and Michelle Obama, to name just a very few. She says, I have to look into it. So I suppose we'll expect some more as we're going along there. Regier says, the hologram is kept in place, or the actual reptilian projecting the image, with a question mark. Almin says the actual reptilian is projecting the image. But their ability to do so is weakening, and sometimes it slips in front of people. So let's go back to a previous audio from Almin, how to spot a reptilian. We'll be back on the other side of this.
So another question that you asked me is is there any tricks by which we can recognize those that are in fact reptilians? And they have a greenish-gray skin. They have scales in certain places, particularly over the body, and very small ears. Their eyes are somewhat larger than ours, but the pupil has a little slit. The 4 hints I can give you, because obviously you will see what they want you to see. But the one thing that's hard for them to maintain is that eye's pupil. The pupil is the hardest thing for them to control, the image of it. So you will find often when you're looking at a TV personality, if you carefully hold your vision on their eyes, the eye will go back to the slit and then back to the pupil like a human and then back to a reptilian slit. You can see it going back and forth. And sometimes you will see the eye change color. Normally when that happens, they try and look down. But when they look up, you can see, whoa, that's not the way the eye looked 5 minutes ago. So the eyes are a giveaway. The next thing that's a giveaway is the temperature of the body. They feel much colder when you touch them. The skin is way colder. They normally crave sun. The next thing that is a given is because even in disguise, what they eat has to be what they normally would eat. And they have to be carnivorous. In other words, they have to have meat included in their vegetarian diet. They cannot be only vegetarian. So if somebody is only vegetarian, and especially somebody that has been vegetarian for months or years, in all likelihood they are human. So that would be the third thing to sort of line through the dot. Then the last thing is also very prominent giveaway. It's the movement of the tongue. If the tongue goes in and out of the mouth quite a bit, or the tongue brushes across the lips quite a bit, or the corner of the mouth, on a regular basis as this person talks or as they listen to you, that is reptilian tongue movements. So that is another thing to be aware of. They are normally very successful or very powerful or very beautiful because, that's what they come in for, to experience.
Well, I've been vegetarian for nearly 25, 30 years, so I'm safe. But at this point, I have my family outside the studio making strange little sounds to me and licking their lips. So I think they just have got a sense of humour. But there we go. That's what happens as well here on live radio. Somebody has posted up, I think Regier or Jan has posted up on Almindari, a question. We asked this year, what would be the one change we can make in our lives to, number 1, restore our health and vitality. Number 2, restore balance amongst the kingdoms on earth. And number 3, reduce our adding to the waste dumps of the planet. Almin laughed and asked, anything else? So they took a chance and asked, how can we have more available cash each month? There's 4 points, very important there. Almin says, if I understand correctly, you want to do all these things with one change. As you can imagine, that would have to be a pretty drastic change, implementing one step at a time. The answer is become vegan and eat primarily whole foods. So there you are, interesting process and experience as we're going along there. I'd like to just go a little way to the northern parts of the hemisphere and talk a little bit about Malui Witteros's post that came up on Facebook 2 days ago, and just to read out her musings, her insight as to the processes. Of course, she has the healing facility called Divine Gateway, so you can check that out online. Malui writes a beautiful post. She says the reality is that most humans live in a matrix of belief systems and illusions. In the early stages of our spiritual development, we are bound by certain cosmic laws, such as the law of compensation. This dictates that if you gain in one area of life, then you must lose in another. We see it, for example, within African tribal societies, where they are poor on the outside, but have rich inner lives and abilities. Or the businessman who is wealthy on the outside, but is lacking time with his loved ones, or has a poor spiritual understanding of existence. Animals too have strong suits in one area, but then lack abilities in another, such as great hearing, but no vision, etc. In this reality of opposites, life is energized by polarity, which is the movement between the poles, rich, poor, light, dark, war, peace, etc. And this is a limited source of energy. It will dry out eventually. In fact, it already has for many, many beings on earth. When we ascend into higher consciousness states, releasing belief systems and the identification with our body, emotions and thoughts, we start to live beyond duality and polarity. Our life is no longer energized by drama and polarity, nor are we subject to the law of compensation. We tap into a new energy source, a perpetual one that sustains us limitlessly and eternally. And we get to grow, expand, and experience the abundance of life that is our birthright, without paying a compensatory price. What is that energy source then? Inspiration. Divine ripples of infinite intent felt within our being, radiating through our cells. It is indeed within us, accessible to the trusting heart and silent mind. When we live authentically and express that which inspires us, magic starts to happen. Life takes on a new dimension literally, and we thus help save the planet and all her beings. This is one of the most important tasks for the major light workers of the earth, and a pleasant one, I would say. We're going to now just cross over to Ireland. Yes, global tour tonight. Cross over to Ireland to listen to an audio taken from a video that Kiara Young broadcast as a live class on Facebook, and she talks about showing up anew, and she talks about the current healing process that's happening within the feminine aspects of our beingness. I find it very, very apt and in perspective with our discussion tonight. We'll see you on the other side of showing up anew.
Hi everybody. Recently I have had some wonderful conversations with some fellow travellers on the spiritual road, and we've unanimously agreed that there is a kind of a collective healing going on at the moment, especially among women. And when I say women, I'm talking about those who predominantly emphasize the qualities of the feminine. A lot of men emphasize feminine qualities as well, but let's just say women, to cut a long story short, are undergoing a collective healing around fear of being visible and hiding and all of those related concepts. There's definitely a turning tide at the moment, and many have been on the journey over the last maybe 6 months to a year, possibly even longer. I'm talking about, in a really intensive way, though, of working through this quietly within themselves, preparing for this big shift that's happening. And my sense is that the new moon that we have just lived was actually an activation for many who have been on this journey silently and quietly, behind the scenes, kind of on their own, in their own little space. And now we're beginning to come together in a more open way. We're beginning to step out in a more open way. We're beginning to connect with each other and mutually feel that it's time to actually step up and show up in a new way in life. And that's why I'm speaking to you here this evening. It's time for me to show up in a new way. It's time for me to step out of the shadows of myself, in fact, and show up in my life in a way that I've never done before. This simple act of sitting speaking to you here now is something that I've been fearing probably for maybe 3-4 years. No exaggeration there. This has been a big bugbear. It's been something that's really, really held me back. And the intensity of the inner work that I've been doing over the last couple of years is really, really immense. And I can say the same, speaking for the other wonderful beings that I've connected with who have been in the same position. It's been a rocky road. But now, as I said, we're beginning to actually come together. And I'm sensing a new era of, first of all, collaboration, but second of all, collective support within each other that is beginning to arise. This is just the start, and I mean the very first day. This is just the beginning. There is so much more to come. So it's been wonderful to speak to you today. Thank you for listening to me. I want to express that my part that I'm here to do is I'm here to assist those who know in their hearts that they're more than they've been allowing themselves to believe. Know that they're destined for great things. Know that they're here to achieve great things, but just do not seem to fit in anywhere in the world. And I want to tell you, if that's you, it's because you're here to create a new world. You're here to create something completely different. You don't fit because you're not supposed to fit. You have the capacity within your own being to actually design something entirely brand new that has never existed before, and to ripple that out to all of life through your presence. Isn't that the most wonderful thing ever? My job is to help you to activate those capacities within yourself and to teach you how to utilize the skills that are already latent within you to do exactly that. The metaphysical skills that you need, the mystical skills that you need, the shamanic abilities that you will need to self-heal, and which many of you already have within you now. Many of you have been using them. Maybe you haven't known exactly what they are. Maybe you've been afraid of them. Maybe you've been keeping yourself very quiet, even to those closest around you. You've been on this journey very quietly, not really letting anybody know what's going on for you. Really just functioning in stealth mode. If this sounds like you, and you feel that there's a way that I could possibly help you, I would love to hear from you. Please get in touch with me. Even if you'd just like to chat, it is my absolute privilege, my pleasure and my honour to speak to you at any time, and I can't wait to do so. Have a great day.
And that was Kiara Young from the Blazing Heart Foundation in Ireland, teaching us and saying to us, time to show up and stand in our own truth. That's really the show for tonight. We hope that you've been inspired. We hope that you've gained some insight for yourself. And we hope that you will join us again next week. But in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you. So please, info@belvaspata.co.za is our email address. We are on WhatsApp as well as the local group. You could send us your number. We can join. Welcome to our friends in Syria who have joined the group lately this week. It's great to have you on board and look forward to sharing with each of you there. To close, we thought what we'd do is take the current prediction for the week, which is what we've been speaking about in tonight's show, and just put some of the Almeen music with it. Beautiful music coming up from her, the music of Almin. Really very, very strong. And then we'll read the prediction for the week and we'll sign out for tonight after that particular track has played. So let me say good night to all of you. Let me say thank you to Nico, who's handled our sound. Our Wi-Fi was completely off today, but again, just came up in time for us to handle the show. Yay, we're really happy when we can get the show out and everybody can listen to it. So here's a prediction for the week of July the 24th, ending on the 30th for this year 2017. And we're going to be speaking about the confidence and all of those processes we spoke about tonight. May you be confident. May the alchemical equation of life bring out absolute confidence in you. And just to remind you that the upcoming weekly prediction says the solution you seek requires methods that are definitely beyond the norm. Act from your highest truth, with careful consideration for the consequences, but discard the opinions of others. A decision completely off the beaten track needs to be considered. That's Almin's Rune weekly prediction, started on July the 31st for that week, but we thought we'd just give you a hint of that. In the meantime, let's work with the prediction of this week that's come from Russia, from Ella, and put some music with it and use this as a meditation for the next few minutes. Until next week, love, praise, gratitude, trust and surrender, and absolute confidence. Goodbye. Continue to embrace information exchange between yourself and the One Life. Realize that each object, being, and event communicates with you and exchanges information. For example, as you go about your daily duties, concentrate on the current moment. Feel the peace and enjoy every interaction with objects that you touch and that carry particular information to you from Source. Allow yourself to acquire confidence in full measure. For example, confidence that your true self is always with you, that you are the creator of your reality, and that you have access right now to great power and strength, including all of the boundless abundance of existence. A little confidence, or absolute confidence, will determine whether something is a little expressed or fully expressed in your reality. Innocence requires living in the moment. Don't try to anticipate the future. Let it come to you. Be childlike. May your life be filled with purity and innocence in full measure. You exert enormous influence on the entire cosmos. So act with a pure heart, with concerted attention, and with utmost care. Vast ramifications hang on your every action. Whilst considering others, it is crucial to do that which makes your heart sing. Allow yourself full and authentic expression of the highest truth of your being. Do not lower yourself to the level of the masses trying to appease them. Watch for signs showing the path for you to gain experience. Allow yourself literacy in interpreting cosmic guidance to express in you fully. Be self-confident in your inner knowing. Allow the flow of genius encouraged by self-confidence. Allow the changing attitudes that result from the inevitable evolution of life. Embrace the unknown.
You've been listening to Radio Balbaspata, South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Balbaspata or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@balbaspata.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.